welcome to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You're joined here by your usual hosts, Josh Hartley and Ben Porter. Ben, how are you doing?
Doing good. Had our first little foray into Tabletopia just there, didn't we?
Yes, and our guide tonight with Tabletopia and his game that he's bringing out soon is Eric Brinker. Eric, how are you doing?
Great, guys. How are you?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Thank you for coming on the show and spending a bit of time with us, just showing Ruins Raiders. So we want to get to know you a bit, see why you wanted to design a game, what your gaming CV is, if you will. But first of all, why don't you just tell us what the idea is behind Ruins Raiders?
Sure. So the basic idea of Ruins Raiders is go into a temple, grab the treasure, and survive each other, as well as the temple. I was thinking if Raiders of the Lost Ark or any Indiana Jones movie or something very steampunky, even The Mummy, became a game, then I'd want it to be something like this, where you have the chance to cooperate, but there's also competition if you wanted to just fight each other, and the dungeon pushes back a little bit too.
There's just something about tabletop games where people really enjoy the chance to be horrible to each other, don't they?
Well, I must admit, so me and Ben were kind of on the same team when we were trying this out on Tabletopia, and there was a little devil on my shoulder just saying, "Go on, punch it, do it."
Yeah, that's what it should be.
Let the hate flow through you. But you didn't.
I didn't. No, I listened to the angel on my shoulder for once in my life.
Yeah.
So be grateful.
I know I got out there with that sweet, sweet treasure.
Yeah. And I was stuck in the temple when it collapsed around us. So
yeah.
But
that's
it was
what
worth
happened.
it.
Lesson learned. Don't be a
Getting your
good guy.
friend out.
Hit
That's
your
right.
friend.
Yeah, there you have it, kids.
So how long have you been working on Ruins Raiders for now, Eric?
For about 6 months, and it goes pretty slow. Some weeks I only get a couple hours. It started because I love Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, on the role-playing side and the combat side, and I also love Forbidden Island and the idea that the environment is actually breaking up around you while you're trying to navigate it. So really it started because I wanted something that I had the option to play by myself, because I don't often get together with a group of people, and B, that I could reduce a character's battle stats from Pathfinder down to just a couple of stats so I could teach my kids. And then the game just kept growing out of those two primary objectives into what you guys just played.
Yeah, and it's really it was really good fun, and I can completely see where you're coming from with sort of reducing and boiling down the essence of the more complex RPGs to something that can be done on just D6, and I thought it worked really well. It reminded me somewhat of like Betrayal at the House on the Hill as well. The sort of a very light RPG element to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Very streamlined as well, actually, which is obviously what you set out to do, Eric. So,
Thank you.
Well done there.
I borrowed the idea of successes where, as you guys saw, when you roll a 1d6, if it's a 5 or a 6, that's a success. And I borrowed that from a game I found on Board Game Geek called Dungeon Plungin', and that was designed. It is just somebody's fan dream that they just made. It's not a published game, but they have a PDF with the rules, and it was just designed to be a one-player dungeon crawler, which I thought was just a terrific way of boiling down stats. You don't need to buy weird many-sided dice if you're not the sort of person who has those on hand, and I thought it's something I could run with.
Yeah, not having weird many-sided dice isn't a problem that I've had in a few years now, but I appreciate that. Well, it's true though. Like the thing with Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and those sort of games, whereas Ben and I both play them and we think they're great fun, but there is quite a barrier to entry to that.
I'd say so.
And not everyone has the time or the inclination to get their head around, how those combat systems work, leveling up, buying gear, that sort of thing. So it's a good idea to try and distill an RPG into its sort of most basic form and make it into a board game.
Well, thank you. I hope that this will do that by the time it's done, and I'm very, very nearly done. I'm just really working on the artwork now.
Excellent. So I take it the plan is to put this on Kickstarter to fund this, is that right?
Right, yeah. So my goal is to raise enough money in round between the digital offer and the physical offer to pay for a run of 100 copies of the game, and maybe a little extra that I could use to run Facebook ads to help push that initial run. And then hopefully I have enough cash on hand where I could do a second printing and get a better volume discount. Excellent.
And when are you planning to launch this on Kickstarter? Have you got a date where you're going to hit the button?
No. Okay, I'll tell you my goal. My goal is to get it done by the summer. But by day, I'm a marketer, and I'm a full advocate of the project is done when the project is done, because the world doesn't know that it's coming, that I'm trying to hit this deadline. And if I'm late, I'm late. Like I said, sometimes I only work on it on the weekends. But if I can get this done by the summer, I'll be pretty happy.
Cool. Well, guys, watch this space. We'll update you on when the Kickstarter launches, and hopefully our listeners agree with us that it looks like good fun and worth trying out.
Let's talk a little bit about the game itself. So you did mention that Pathfinder and D&D games like that are a big influence. But thematically, you've gone for this sort of turn of the century Victoriana style.
That's right.
What was the thinking behind that?
First off, I love this style, and I love not only full-on steampunk where everyone has goggles and they're covered in gears, but I also love something that's a little bit lighter, and you see this sort of in The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. Yeah. Mostly, I love the idea that there are these urban dwellers who find themselves in a non-urban environment, and some of the people are very well suited to that. There's a character in here in this deck that is a professional explorer, but other characters would be 100% out of their element, like a street cop or a part-time medium who may bring something to the table, but it would be unorthodox. That's something I wanted to explore.
Mm-hmm. It was cool. I mean, Ben and I were playing. Well, Ben was playing this old, almost like an Alan Quarterman looking character with a rifle, and I was a sort of steam-powered robot. So I was naturally his robot butler.
Of course.
I mean, why wouldn't I be? So
yeah.
I'm guessing that your character was also probably drunk throughout most of it.
Yeah, he struck me as a port drinker.
Yes.
Yeah. Somewhat refined, but absolutely bladdered.
Yeah. I'm picturing... did you ever watch The Fast Show, Eric? I don't know how popular that got over in America.
No, I don't know what that is.
Oh, there was... So this reference is going to be lost on you, but like our British viewers or listeners will probably remember the old drunk guy from The Fast Show who you could only make out certain things that he's saying, and this is exactly what I'm picturing your character Ben doing. Just shoot the blackguard.
I kind of imagined him as a sort of Sir Digby Chicken Caesar type character. My nemesis has left a calling card.
What is it, master? Meanwhile, on the other end of the board, Eric was playing. It was a cop and some well-to-do lady. Is that right?
Right. So she's my part-time medium. So she has some psychic powers. She can hex people and summon spiritual allies, but it's something she only does part-time. So she's not great at it and doesn't really identify as it. It just happens.
Kind of like, it's a 10 out of 10 for enthusiasm, but
yeah,
execution, exactly right.
Yeah, needs work.
Yeah, it took her a whole turn to summon someone, and then it got defeated right away.
Yeah, yes.
By a mummy?
That's right.
Yeah, we had a sort of spirit companion getting immediately destroyed by a mummy, and then we had some blood-sucking bats appear as well. The floor was turning into ants.
The robot got into a fight with a policeman, and then the old drunk guy ran away with the treasure.
Yeah.
While the ceiling collapsed on everyone.
Yeah, it's just, just your standard Saturday night in Glasgow. So what are the other characters that are going to be playable in the final version then?
That's a good question. So we have, I'm pulling it up now, but we have someone who is a professional explorer.
Mm-hmm.
We have someone who is a field medic, and then a field nurse who does a lot of what the field medic does, but she's faster.
Okay.
Here we go. Clarence Gardner, army doctor. Ebba Riverhopper, she's an archaeologist. Edith Leafwalker, she's my widow. So the artwork I had originally for her that I have to redo because it's not my own artwork. She is this sort of like the woman from Magnificent Seven. She's just got 2 guns, and she's really not a warrior, but she's now battle-hardened because her husband is gone. So she's not there for treasure. She's there for blood. And one of the expansion packs I want to do is to publish plot points. And so you would draw a card, and it would say, the player to your left killed your significant other. Your only goal in this game is to kill them.
It's a bit like the woman from the Musketeers, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You remember her?
Not really.
I don't either.
Okay, thanks, Josh.
Sorry.
She is the wife of, I want to say Athos, but anyway, she was the wife of the leader of the Musketeers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's out for revenge. She's quite a nasty character in her own right, but I say that to say she sounds quite similar to the Widow.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
If the characters, there's about 12 total. So Gilbert Button is a mortician, and he's a debuffer, so he can take down people's defenses with his eerie gaze. Isambard Bracegirdle is my favorite. He's a pickpocket.
So can he nick things? Is that his deal?
So if he takes damage, he actually has a chance to steal some of the cards that you're holding. So
I like
indicating like if you were right up next to him and you took a swing, that would be what he gets out of the deal.
I see. Oh, very good. Very good.
Millie Chubb, she's an air mechanic. I was thinking of Rosie the Riveter for that one. And then my last one was Victor Hornwood, professional explorer.
Victor Hornwood. That's an excellent name.
Thank you.
All of the names are good.
He is a little more well-rounded on his stats, and he has a chance to defeat traps.
All right, that's cool. Yeah, that makes him pretty good then, because I think... I don't know what you've found through your playtesting, but it looks to me that the traps tend to kill people more than each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we found in our test, most people don't attack each other until when someone has the master chest and they're trying to escape.
Yeah.
But really, you could attack each other at any time.
Yeah.
But you're right. Defeating traps is more worthwhile most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And what else have you got planned for the final version then?
So what we saw with trap deck, treasure deck, character deck, and tiles are what I consider the base pack. And so some of the expansions that I want available when I launch would be the plot cards, so such as someone else killed someone you love, or a doubling up of each of the decks, so more characters, traps, and treasure, as well as all different tiles. And then one of the things I want to do is make it so that you can have layers of tiles. So I would have to put out like plastic stands, and you could have first floor, second floor, and you could fall through the floor and land on the floor beneath you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
There's quite a few games that use the multiple floors.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? There's one Rhino Hero.
Yes, seen that.
Yeah, and there's another one on Kickstarter at the moment. Agents of Mayhem or something like that.
I'm not so familiar with that one, but yeah.
Well, obviously, it's not actually out yet.
Oh, yeah, no, it's on Kickstarter.
Yeah, but it's a cool, like, having that multi-layered thing, because board games are very very linear in that way. A lot of the time.
A little two-dimensional.
Yeah.
Sure. That makes
Excellent.
sense.
Cool. Well, look, just following on from all the details about Ruined Raiders, what got you into tabletop gaming in the first place?
So I really just love rules. And when I found Pathfinder and Dungeons and Dragons, games that are just based on the premise that if you love rules, there's an endless amount of rules that you could possibly learn. I was just in love. And I wanted more of a quick setup version of it with quick entry, one-time play. So I didn't mind. I was trying to keep it simple, but at the same time, I didn't mind adding situation rules. Like we found the jumping rule, for example, or the trap cards kind of came out of that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I love about tabletop gaming is mostly the physical pieces and the way that real world concepts are actualized as a set of logical rules.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's incredible. I don't know if it's a turn on for everybody else, but I love it.
I do have to say, because we were trying out this game using Tabletopia, a very useful resource, particularly if you're wanting to play test with people on other sides of the Atlantic, like we were just doing there. But at the same time, I did feel I missed that tactile, the moving the pieces, flipping the cards, drawing the deck, that sort of thing.
The smell.
It's very satisfying. Like in this game, you get to roll a lot of d6s, sometimes 5, 8, or 10 d6s, and it's so satisfying to just hold it in two hands and dump them all over the table.
Yep. I mean, we both play Age of Sigmar, the follow-up to Warhammer Fantasy, so you roll quite a bit of dice in that.
Yeah.
You used to roll hundreds in Warhammer Fantasy, though, and that was very satisfying, just like picking up fistfuls of dice and dropping them.
That's it.
But, so, I mean, are you playing in a Pathfinder campaign at the moment then, or Dungeons & Dragons, or...?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm leading, I'm the GM for Curse of the Crimson Throne, a Pathfinder campaign for people that I work with.
Oh, excellent. Cool. Well, are they new to it, or have they played before?
Most of them have played 5e before, but I think one other guy has played Pathfinder before, and really it's my first time playing as well. I started listening to some podcasts that do actual play and started reading the books, and it's like endless rules, incredible story. I was telling someone about it. It's like, if you want a game where you're a type A personality and you make the rules and control everyone's fun and tell them what they can and can't do, this is the game for you. You should be a game master. Like, yeah, I get that.
If you are a psychopath,
that's right.
be a GM.
So how many people are in the party then, and what kind of characters have we got?
All right, so we're just getting started, but we have 4 people in the party. It's an urban-based campaign. One person wants to be a druid. We had to have a lot of talk about how to be a druid in the city, but we came up with this backstory that's a little bit like Green Arrow from the comics. So he used to live in the city, and then he was on a trip, and some pirates boarded the ship, and he was the only survivor. Now he's back. We have someone who wants to be a noble, someone who is a 65-year-old level 1 wizard who kind of left the wizarding world so he could be a criminal, and then he left the criminal world, and now he wants to rediscover what he left behind. And an ex-military man as well, who's upset that the city botched the investigation on the murder of his wife.
Ah, cool.
The wizard sounds a bit like Walter White from Breaking Bad.
Do you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because funnily enough, I was thinking of, just when you said there, Eric, how do you be a druid in the city? I'm thinking, there's hundreds of druids in this city.
There is such a thing as urban druid, and I didn't know this until yesterday. So I'm reading more about that. But I told the player, like, you will never be surrounded by vines and plants. You won't be able to say, "Go grab that guy." There's no plants that will do your bidding.
Yeah, I mean,
What do they do then? Do they just summon hordes of rats and cockroaches?
I think that's a big part of it. And in this particular fictional city, there's a huge sewer network, so I think that could be a big connection.
is it Absalom that you're playing in?
No, Corvosa.
Ah, right. No, the reason I ask is the first Pathfinder campaign I ever did, it was set in Absalom, which, if you're not familiar with the Pathfinder universe, is like the big city right in the centre of the world. So
Sorry,
cool.
I'm still on this thing about the urban druid. It's basically just a euphemism for a tramp, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly
Well,
right.
A homeless tunnel dweller.
he's got a can of super on it.
Instead of health potions, cans of lager.
He's been rummaging about in the public bins to get fag ends for smoking. I think it suggests to whoever's playing him that every so often, like with every encounter with an NPC, he has to start with, "Excuse me, sir. I'm not on drugs. I'm sober, but I just need some money to get the bus home." So
That's right. I have a job interview in the next city, and I just need the bus fare to get there.
I just need £2 for a steak bake.
yeah. So how long have you been playing the pen and paper RPGs for then?
9 months. I'm fairly new at it.
And how are you finding them so far?
Oh, I love it. So, as I mentioned, I just love rules. I didn't know this about myself until I discovered Pathfinder. This is amazing. The person says, like, "I want to walk over there," and you're like, "Okay, great. I want you to find this formula and roll these dice and figure out. This is going to give you a 60% chance, and I'm going to roll against you." And I'm like, "Great, you walked over there," and I was just thrilled about it. So that plus what I really like the adventure path, because I like the big stories. They're kind of set up as a series of mini fights or mini sessions, but there is usually a big villain that overarches what could be years of get-togethers with your friends, and that's all the best TV shows. They all do that, in my opinion. They have your episodes, but by the end of the season, you want to fight the big bad or uncover the big reveal. So seeing all of those pre-made adventures that have the entire adventure laid out in super detail was just incredible.
Yeah, and it's such both Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder are such rich universes as well. There's basically whatever kind of setting you're looking for, you'll be able to find it in both.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
they've blown up massively over the past year. We keep saying it, but
Yeah.
it's quite surreal that something that just a few years ago was considered to be the province of basement-dwelling weirdos and neckbeards is now actually it's a mainstream thing.
yeah.
Do you guys play?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I'm in a Pathfinder campaign. I'm playing Orlan Goodseller, a halfling ranger with my trusty riding dog Biff, which is this dumb Rottweiler that I've put a saddle on. So, and Ben, you've just been trying out Gloomstalker.
Yeah, I play a dwarf Gloomstalker, which is one of the new ranger archetypes that came out with Xanathar's Guide to Everything.
Wow.
And he's Brynjar, and he's absolutely brutal. He's only level 3, and he just one-shotted a direwolf the other day.
Just cut it in half.
Well, he had them all, so he splattered it.
Ugh.
It's like Alsatian jelly all over the
Oh,
room.
don't say that. Don't make me feel sorry for the direwolf.
Yeah.
And is
did
this
that.
is this a homebrew or is it an adventure path?
Where did Charles get your adventure from?
Oh crap! You put me on the spot here. He is using one of the supplements. It's I can't remember the name, but it's apparently a really well-known delve.
Okay.
I can't remember which book it's from, but it is from a supplement. But it is an abandoned dwarf colony.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure there's someone out there who will know the name of it purely based on that. It's an abandoned dwarf colony, and I believe it has 5 levels to it.
Well, the game I'm playing in, Tom, our GM, it is homebrewed. It's his own universe that he's created, the Boscan Lands, which is, if you kind of think of frontier, revolutionary America. So just when European settlers have got over
colonial wars.
Yes, well, it's kind of like people versus the elements, and the wilds. We're in winter at the moment, so we're trudging through snow right now. But Tom just told us at the end of the because what he does is he'll take like adventures from here, there, and everywhere, and sort of make them fit into the story. And apparently the sort of adventure that we're working on right now is one of the ones from first edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh wow!
And it still works.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So stay tuned, and you'll find out how Orlan and his Rottweiler get on with the snow. In terms of other games, what have you been playing lately, Eric?
Really, just that. I don't do a lot of video games. It's not for lack of love. It's really for just a lack of time. I've got 3 kids and a full-time job, so I spend what hours I get working on Ruins Raiders or GMing for Pathfinder.
I hear having children is quite time-consuming.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
I confirmed that rumor.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever read the letters of Tolkien, the Christmas letters to his children?
No, I have not.
I immediately look towards Ben because he's much better read than I am, particularly on things Tolkien.
One of my dreams is to adapt this to a Pathfinder campaign, but the short version is Santa Claus and a polar bear go into a mine to fight an army of goblins with the elves that they bring along, and they meet this other like old brown bear. It's just got all the makings of a campaign setting. It's incredible.
That sounds amazing.
I want a miniatures battle game based on that. Ooh. So
Santa definitely has an axe, doesn't he?
There are tons of discussion about like, is he a paladin? Is he a druid? I think he might be maybe a hybrid. I don't know.
No, Santa's a barbarian, definitely.
Well, no, surely he's a wizard, right? He can make time stop. Otherwise, how else would he deliver everything on Christmas Eve?
I think he needs his own class.
I think level 20 wizard with maybe some ranks in druid. Maybe. Do you think he's an all-out brawler?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't recommend picking a fight on Santa?
No way.
He'll have you.
He'll maul you. And if he doesn't get you, the reindeer will.
That's right.
Because I was going to ask, this polar bear that Santa went down the mines with, was he riding the polar bear? Was he saddled up on it, and he was like some sort of festive polar knight?
So, if you want to get right down into it, the polar bear is this good-for-nothing oaf that keeps ruining things, but in the end usually fixes things in a really profound way. It just takes 10 adventures to get there. And the polar bear gets lost in the mines. So this is a finding mission to try to get the polar bear back. And he's been kidnapped by these goblins. There's an old brown bear who lives in the caves, and he seeks out Santa and says, I think the polar bear got lost in my caves. We should go look for him. So, no, he doesn't ride the polar bear. But I think that once you find the polar bear, I think the polar bear could absolutely be his animal companion, and then he could ride the polar bear on his way out.
There we go. So probably some ranks in Ranger then, if he's got an animal companion.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So
he's got like
level
12
35.
animal. Oh, sorry, Eric.
He's going to be like level 35. He's got 5 levels in all of the different classes. That's my vote.
The ultimate jack of all trades.
See, well, this
right.
is something that we spoke about. Pretty much all role-playing games do not have a class for a polymath type character.
There must be something though, right?
Well, there should be. Like, the only game I've seen it in is a video game, and it was Kingdoms of Amalur. And you could actually pick, once you'd met certain criteria, polymath as your class,
Right.
and it meant that you're good at a little bit of everything. So that's what Santa should be. He should be a polymath because it's
The ultimate Renaissance man.
yeah. But this is it, isn't it? Is that all the D&D classes are based on something from the real world, aren't they? Because you had the paladins during the Crusades. Druids were a real thing, and polymaths were a real thing.
Yeah.
You say Renaissance man, people like Da Vinci. They actually reckon Benjamin Franklin was a polymath as well. So that there are a lot of people like that, and there should be a class that reflects that.
I'm in. That sounds great.
Yes. It sounds a little overpowered though.
But it wouldn't be, because what you would have is like, I'll have a little bit of that and a little bit of that. It doesn't mean that you're amazing at everything.
That's kind of what rogues are like, right? Because
I was going to say bard actually. My bard was a bit like that, except he was stupid. No, he wasn't stupid. He had really low wisdom. Right. Like I gave him wisdom 7. So
I think that counts as stupid if you have low wisdom.
Probably.
Well, because the definition of wisdom is like someone who can go through life skillfully, isn't it? And if you can't do that, you're an idiot.
Yeah. Fair. Probably reflects me though quite well. So
I guess.
Anyway, on that note, we'll draw things to a close tonight. But just Eric, thank you very much for coming on the show. You'll let us know when your Kickstarter is going to go live, so that we can spread the message to our good listeners, and they can send them your fun money to get this funded.
For the moment, you could go to ruinsraiders.com, and it redirects you to my Facebook page, where I'm just sort of using page likes as my my lead gen in preparation for Kickstarter.
Excellent. There we go. But yes, thanks very much for listening, guys, and look, we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hi everyone, it's Charlotte from the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Now be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. All you need to do is search Unlucky Frog Gaming. You can also show your support for the Unlucky Frog through Patreon. To find out more information, check out our website, www.unluckyfrog.com. Thanks, bye!